Paddy the Baddy's up to no good, and I gotta tell you, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So, Paddy the Baddy, who once upon a time I thought was a dorky guy with a weird hairdo that you can get a little bit of buzz from. Completely different opinion. I mean, I'm right about the dorky guy and the terrible hairdo, but completely different opinion after I saw his last fight. There is nothing potential-wise that was shown in his last contest that doesn't lend to the fact that he could be a world champion. Now, Paddy's been doing the same thing over and over, and I kept on thinking it was a mistake. Every time he would do it, as a matter of fact, I would critique it. I'm bearing my lead. Let me get to it. Paddy talks about a show that he's going to fight on an opponent that he wants, and he never says a name. And I thought it was an error. I thought, well, this is a young guy. He'll get this figured out. You got to name a name. But there's truly few things more effective in the world of marketing than speculation. Paddy has forced me to come over here and speculate. And quite frankly, even within my mind before it comes out of my mouth, I'm enjoying it. I would like to speculate on Paddy. So here's what Paddy told us. Okay. Says that he's planning to fight at UFC 282. Now that's like December 10th, and I only know that date because that's the day that Bo Nickal's going to fight and Darren Till and Duplessis are not. But it's a pay-per-view, and it's in Vegas, and that matters because when Dana White laid out the plan for what he's going to do with Paddy, he talked about a few things, and ultimately get him to Vegas on pay-per-view was one of them. So Paddy says, I'm planning, now you got to understand this word, I'm planning to fight at 282, which is the December card. It's not definitive. There's nothing there that you can count on. There's no kind of commitment. He didn't say that he was in training camp. He's planning to. Okay, great. You got me. I mean, he got me. And then Paddy said, as he said in his other contest as well, that he doesn't have an opponent yet, and that these guys don't quite have the same courage when a contract gets in front of them. Now, that leads you to believe that an opponent or multiple opponents have been offered Paddy and have turned it down. I would believe that. I don't want to believe it. I will tell you, back in the day when I got into this sport, guys weren't doing that. The guys who I've looked up to in this sport never did that, but I do know there is no league anywhere with more fake tough guys. The fact that Tom Brady would walk onto a field and take on anybody that shows up. 11 opposing guys. He doesn't even know who his guys are going to be. They could get hurt. They could get traded out. These guys could get traded out. Somebody else comes in. He has absolutely no idea, and he'll walk out there on Sunday and do it anyway for 4 hours. I mean, really? Tom Brady's tougher than the UFC fighters? Yeah, apparently. And LeBron will go do the same thing. 5 guys instead of 11, any way you want to do it, and I don't even know who my own teammates are. I don't know anyone that will be out there. I said I'd show up on this day, and I'm going to show up. Apparently, those guys are tougher than cage fighters, and I do believe Paddy. I do believe that Paddy is looking to fight at 282. I do believe he's coming to Vegas on pay-per-view. I think that that's very exciting news, considering that would expedite the plan that Dana had. Bring him right to Vegas, put him right on pay-per-view. That's interesting to me. I love the marketing side of it. And moreover, if that is in fact the case, then they would be looking for opponents, and the fact that they haven't announced one says that Paddy's telling the truth. That somebody's turning him down. Now, before I even got to that, and my blood started to boil, and I would want to name names, I would want to out them so that I know who we're not going to cheer for and cover ever again in the future. As much as I would like to know who those guys are. There's only one guy that's called Paddy out that I've seen. Mark Madsen, the Olympian, 5-0, is the only guy that I have seen who called Paddy out. And not to mention, he did it pretty respectfully. He said, man, this guy's good. This guy's good. He's unbeaten. I'm unbeaten. I would like the opportunity. I thought it was polite. And I don't know what would happen to that fight. That's actually a really interesting match. But let's just set that aside. The fact that I only have one guy whose name I can produce that has even called out Paddy, and now Paddy's sticking your nose in it. Paddy's being nice. Whoever it is that's turning down the contract, or whoever has gotten the call, Paddy made it sound like it was plural. Paddy didn't out him. He didn't say this guy said no, this guy said no, this guy came up with an excuse, this guy's got to feed his dog. Didn't say anything, which is polite. I thought Paddy would have been an agitator. I thought Paddy would have been a guy to out these guys. I thought he would have roughed him up to get himself over, but he's not doing it. He didn't say who they were. He didn't go any further. And I would like guys to call out Paddy. I would like that. And I've got to give Madsen a lot of credit for being the only one to do it, and he did it publicly. But I'd also like to see Paddy calling out other guys, because I'd like to see where Paddy thinks he's at. I thought he looked incredible in his last fight, and I don't think he was at his best. That weight cut is an issue to some extent. You're a young guy, you got about 24, you got about 30 hours, you can rehydrate and you can replenish. It's to some extent, not nearly what the media is trying to make of it, but to some extent. But then we found out about the mental and emotional burden that he was going into after having lost a friend who he was dedicating the match to. So I don't believe that Paddy was at his best. And I would like to know where he sees himself. That's relevant where a guy sees himself. I mean, this whole Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva, that tells us. This is where Jake sees himself. That matters. Sugar Sean going after Peter Yan, that tells us how he sees himself. That matters. If Paddy was to call out a name fighter, that would tell us something. If he was to go after number 6, if he was to go after number 11, if he wants a brand new guy who's unsigned and is going to debut, it would all tell us something. I would like that. I would like to have that information. Paddy's been a gentleman about it. But why are you guys, and who are you guys turning this fight down? I would be very curious. I can tell you until I'm blue in the face. Like, nobody understands this sport like I do. Truly. Nobody understands the business of the sport like I do. Like, when I tell you something, this isn't then up for debate where you then tell me your opinion back. I'm not asking you for your opinion. I'm not coming to your channel and watching your show. I've already got this figured out. I don't need to know what you think, respectfully. When I tell you something, that is it. And quite frankly, you're very lucky for having access to my mind as often as you get it. In all fairness, you really are. And if you did listen to my advice, you'd make a whole bunch of money. You'd have a really long career, and a lot of people do. But when I tell you your ranking does not matter in comparison to your placement on the card, this isn't up for debate. If you'd rather be ranked number 3 and jerking the curtain at 2:30 while the building's empty, or you'd rather have no ranking and be in a co-main event, if you don't understand the difference in those two, I can't help you. I can tell you, I can plead with you, I can show you commas and zeros. I can show you headlines, which you got to have the headlines before you get the placement, before you get the commas and zeros. I can tell you the order of it all. But if you don't understand that message, if you would rather have a 5 next to your name on a .com that nobody goes to, like if that's more important, there's nothing I can do. Paddy the Baddy's going to be on the main card. Dana White said our final step with him is to bring him to Vegas and put him on pay-per-view. UFC 280 is in Vegas and it's on pay-per-view. They're going to feature Paddy, which means they could feature you. But only Mark Madsen has publicly said he would like that spot.